Hi guys, welcome back to the podcast. Another solo episode from me. And honestly, today's episode I feel like is one that can relate to most. And I have a lot of conversations about this with clients and anyone who chats to me and talks about what I do. It's usually one of the conversations we have, and they have lots of questions. It's all about why furniture shopping feels so hard. And maybe I have some tips around maybe what's missing, what's making it harder for you, and all the things, I guess, around that. So I'm really looking forward to chatting all about this because I really just feel like it is one that we have all struggled with at some point or another. Let's face it, we're not all buying furniture all the time, and when we do, it is a mission, or at least it can be. I guess I'm trying to shed a little bit of light around maybe how it can be a better experience and how it could also be a little easier for you. Now, it doesn't matter if you're doing a full overhaul or you're just trying to find that one piece that you need to do for your room. So maybe you just don't have the right coffee table and you just feel like you're in a minefield of like impossible things that you're up against. Too much choice. Where do you go? How much do you spend? What kind of style? What size does it need to be? Honestly, there are so many things to consider, and it really can just feel like so much, especially if you're furnishing more than one space. Maybe you're doing a whole home, or maybe you're finding it difficult to get pieces that work with other pieces. All the things. This episode is really for everyone. So you might be trying to DIY a space. You might have started and you feel stuck in the middle. Or maybe you're deciding if you're going to go it alone, or maybe you're going to get someone like me to give you a hand and give you a bit of extra support. Either way, the intention of today is really to just give you some tools and some heads up and some great tips on, I guess, maybe how we can make this a little easier and some things to be aware of when you are diving into buying furniture. So, look, let's be real about one thing. Buying furniture is, generally speaking, a bit of a big choice. Usually can mean a significant amount of money that you're wanting to spend, especially if it's a high touch space like a couch, chairs, bed. These are things that get a lot of wear and tear in your home. It can feel like you got to get it right. And you're also trying to make sure that links in with your style and it's going to work with your life and your family and you want it to look good. There are a lot of things that come into play. But let's be honest, without a clear direction of what you want to do, this is going to make this whole process so much harder. So I do really find that if you really struggle with this, maybe it is because you don't have a clear vision for your space, like right down to specifics. If you're in that kind of general, like, oh, I like this color and this vibe, and I'm just going to go for it, generally speaking, that's what's going to make it hard for you. The more you're doing it off the cuff, the harder it is going to be. So, I guess there's some things to consider, but really the first step for me is always, while you need to, yes, have a clear vision, absolutely, you need to understand the layout of the space and the scale. These things are so important. And I guess lots of things that are honestly done wrong most of the time. I don't know how many times I've heard, oh yeah, I ordered a couch and it didn't fit, or oh yeah, I ordered a couch and it's way too big for the space. Most clients' homes that I go into, they're like, we hate this couch, we've got to get rid of it, it's way too big, or oh, we don't like this rug because it's too tiny for the space. So understanding scale and really knowing what your layout needs to be based on how you use the space, what is the traffic flow in the space, and understanding how you lay it out. What's the entry point and exit point of a space? How big is it? And how much is it going to hold? And you don't want it to be overwhelmed with furniture, but you also don't want everything to be tiny and then you've got this big giant space that everything's kind of floating in thin air. So understanding your layout and your scale is really super important. And if you're not good at spatial awareness, this can be a real tricky one. And you might see something in store and you're like, oh, I think it'll fit. And you give it a red hot go and you just don't go home and measure it. And then, lo and behold, it doesn't work. So get the measuring tape out. And if you really struggle with spatial awareness, I encourage people to go and get painter's tape out if you can, where your sofa's going to be, or at least the start and finish points of all your furniture. So you kind of have a much better idea of how much space everything's going to take up and where it's going to sit. And that can sometimes also help you troubleshoot, oh, that's not going to work because I'm dodging the furniture because this is a main flow access in and out of the space. Lots of things like that. So I really consider doing the practical for like most people. It's just get your measuring tape out, really understand what's going to fit in that space before you do. Even step foot in a showroom, don't do it until you really understand the size of the things that you kind of need. Because if they're not considered, you are 100% going to run into trouble at some point. And guessing is just not going to work. It just can't be guessing. It has to be a bit more accurate than that. So you've got to look at the dimensions. You really have to understand how you're going to move in that space and is it going to work before you even go purchasing anything. Because otherwise you'll end up with like a rug that looks like a bath mat in a lounge room, or the sofa will stick halfway out into the hallway. I mean, I've seen all of these things happen to people along the way. They're very real things. They're very easy to do if you're not going to take that understanding measurement and what's going to fit in the space. So that's a real key one. Once you kind of understand the space and what you think you're going to put, then you can kind of look at, I guess, inspiration. But here's my key thing. Pinterest is not a vision. It's a tool used for inspiration, but you can't just be like, oh, well, I have my Pinterest board here and like it's fine. I'm just going to go shopping now. Chances are it's not going to work out because that's inspiration. You want something that is going to be 100% confident that you can pull this off before you even go and, test out the sofas or go and have a look at the fabrics in real life. Or I would be doing some reconnaissance online and really having a look. I do this with my clients all the time. I have a look online. I pick a couple. I go and see them. Once I know that they're going to fit, I go and see them then. I don't go and see 50 sofas. I go see 3 sofas, but I've done my research. I know my inspiration, but I also have a middleman there where I have another plan, another mood board with the key things that I love and making sure that that's gonna work. So don't walk around with a Pinterest board and think you've got it covered because that's just inspiration. It's not a real vision. So, and also you need to really understand, like, I always find this really interesting when people are like, oh, I just, I want a 3-seater sofa and like, whatever. But I also am like, is it ticking all the boxes for you? Like, yeah, is it the right color? If you're a family, does it have removable covers so you can wash it? Or if you really want a white couch, they're the things that you need to make sure it ticks all the boxes for. What does the care look like for it? Is it something that you can deal with? All these things are important, but if you're just walking around with a Pinterest board that's like, this is my vibe, this is what I'm going for, chances are you're either going to get overwhelmed with so many different options that you're going to be like, I don't know what to choose, because I like 10 sofas. Narrowing it down outside of your inspiration to a more specific vision is key. So 3 of something, 3 sofas, 3 coffee tables, three rugs, all the things. So all that kind of work in and out together. That's really important. And then you can kind of start putting together your true vision for the space instead of a bunch of guesswork around, well, I think I kind of want a cream curved sofa, but like I can't find the right one, or I can't find one in the size, or and so you spend time traipsing the shops looking for a needle in a haystack instead of doing a little bit of reconnaissance online and really looking at things like your measurements. I'm going to say measurements a lot because it's really important when you're, buying furniture, especially if you don't do it a lot. Like sometimes I can look at something and be like, I know that's going to fit because I look at furniture all the time. I'm installing spaces all the time, but chances are you're not going to be in that predicament unless you have really good spatial awareness. If you do, great, but I would still say measure, because everyone can get unstuck at some point or another. Even just understanding what your delivery is. I've heard crazy stories about people having to take windows out to get sofas in and all kinds of things. I remember back in my 20s, I moved into an apartment. This was when I was very early days styling, not really into the nitty gritty. And I bought this sofa and it would have fit in the space, but I was in an apartment and it wouldn't fit up the stairwell. So there's lots of things to consider when you are shopping for furniture. If you can't get it in the space, that's a problem. Live and learn is what I say. So a mood board with specifics of what you're loving right now is a really key middle step. Now, this might seem like, oh, Lauren, are we ever going to get to actually going and picking furniture and doing this? Yes, but what's the point in looking at 25 sofas when I could only look at 3 and make one choice? It's going to be a little bit easier. Plus, you want to make sure that it all works together. So this is part of what I actually do with my clients is I give them links. I showcase them with what their space could look like, but they might say to me, Lauren, I really love the sofa and I really love the coffee table, but I don't like the rug. Can we change it to option 3? And I don't just say, yeah, sure, let's do that and go with it. I say, okay, let me put it into the mood board and let's have a look at it. Because sometimes then you'll be able to troubleshoot maybe the color balance is off, or maybe you need to change the cushions, or those kinds of things. Furniture is like a good pair of jeans. It's like the basis for the outfit, the basis for dressing the space, but you want to make sure that everything layering on top of that is going to work too. So this little extra step allows you to do that, and it works without fail. It's what I do with my clients every single time, and honestly, they come away just feeling confident because they can see what they're going to get even before we purchase something. And yes, you need to go and see the items. Absolutely. You need to try them, especially sofas and things like that. They need to have comfort value. But, from a visual point of view and from a spatial point of view, that's going to work. And that ticks a lot of boxes. Going into the showroom, key things to look out for are colors. So are the colors right? Because online, not everything looks like how it is in real life. And fabrics, what does the fabric look like? What does it feel like? Is it what you expected? Is it not what you expected? Timber tones, so anything where there's finishes, are they what you expected or not? Because that will help you also make your decision. Because maybe you're like, well, I don't really like how that is finished. This one looks better. I love the style. So it ticks all the boxes. But again, the key here is you don't want to look at 25 coffee tables. You want to look at 3. You might look at 25 or more online, but in real life, you don't want to be looking at 25 plus coffee tables because the overwhelm will get you. And you won't actually remember or retain anything that you see in the showroom because you've seen so much. Really key one. I mean, decision fatigue and overwhelm when you are styling your home is a very real thing. And also, it's just so overwhelming. It's just not something that you do all the time. So you've got to be really aware of that and try and make it easy for yourself, easier on yourself. And here's another key thing. I don't ever want you to settle on something and be like, you know what, I'm over it. I'm just going to get that. Chances are when it arrives, you're not going to love it. Or down the track, you're like, I wish I'd looked some more, or I wish I'd chosen the one that was on pre-order and I had to wait an extra 2 months. I wish I had done that. I say this to clients all the time. Instant gratification is fine to a point, but if you really love something, chances are it's worth the wait. So just remember that when you are shopping and you think, oh, but I can get this now and it's on sale and it's this and it's this. But do you love it? And obviously things that come into play are like budget and all that, but do you love it? Because if you don't and you just buy it because it's cheap and whatever, that's the spiral that most people go into, and then you end up with all this random stuff that you buy for the sake of buying, and then you're actually losing money because you're selling it on marketplace, you're selling it for cheap, and I feel like I just hear it so often when people are like, oh, I just bought it for the sake of it, just for now. And it's like, do you realize if you'd not done that and you'd waited and really created something that you truly love, how much more money you would be able to invest in your home or your space, your business space, whatever it is, than doing all of this band-aid of for now, it'll do, I'll take that. Don't do it. It's just honestly not worth it. You may as well just have an empty space for 6 months or a year and save up and actually have a little bit more money to your budget than just keep buying and having these random things that people give you and you said yes just because. It is such a common thing for people to just be given stuff and they just keep it because it was just easier and like, I don't know what to pick. So common. So common. So next time you're shopping and you're tempted by that thing that's on sale, or you can get it now and it's not as good as the one you love, but whatever, I can get it delivered tomorrow instead of in 3 weeks. Wait the 3 weeks and get the thing that you love. Now, next thing is where to shop. This can just, people are like, where do I go, Lauren? I don't even know where to start. And honestly, there's so many considerations around that. As in, you've got big retailers, you've got online stores, you've got local makers, you've got designer, you've got trade suppliers, and you've got marketplace. And it honestly, they all have their own pros and cons and timelines and risks, but not everything that's cheap is a bargain and not everything that's expensive is high quality. It's really about, one, yes, understanding your budget, understanding what you're going to invest in. And again, this is like high touch items like sofas and things like that. Understanding all of that will help you understand where is good to shop. And it also is about where you are in that time of your life. So if you're just a single professional couple, you're both working full time, you could probably go to town on pretty much whatever you wanted to. But maybe also you're saving for your first home and you're renting, and so you want to buy everything on Marketplace. That's also fine. Maybe you've got toddlers running around, and so investing in expensive furniture is just not right for the season you're in. All these things are going to kind of drive you into where you're going to shop. And obviously, budget is the most obvious one as to helping you understand where you're going to look. But if you don't have a plan on your vision and your concept, and you're just free-for-alling it, going here, there, and everywhere, going high-end, low-end, everywhere, I think, yeah, again, that confusion is going to really drive you, and that's the one key one that is going to turn people off furniture shopping. Is people get overwhelmed and stressed out and they don't know what to choose, and then so they don't do anything. Having a plan is so important. So I always look at investing in furniture, like I said, high touch areas like sofas, generally dining tables and things like that are up there on things you invest in. Your bed, from a comfort point of view, really important. But I would say things like coffee tables, depends on what season you're in as to how much you invest, because, they have the opportunity to get marks on them. You really have to understand all of that to understand how much you're willing to spend and save on those pieces. But for me, yeah, it's always like invest in a great sofa, dining table, and bed, and then everything else I think you can just play with depending on budget and how much use it's going to get, really. Because sometimes buying something cheap that's going to get high use, you're going to turn it over really fast. It's not going to last. And sometimes it's more about investing in a middle market sofa rather than a high end sofa, say, for example. But you're not going to do a cheap one because that's not going to last either. So just really making those decisions based on where you are in the season of your life and your budget will help you choose where you need to shop. But styling over the top of your furniture can always be done on more of a budget than furniture. So that's kind of the way I look at it anyway, is invest in the furniture pieces and then style over the top with some of your more budget conscious pieces, and you'll still get a great finish. So that's kind of my take on that. I think it's so varied based on your own project. But if you don't have that, again, that clear vision, you're not going to have clarity over what you're buying and where you need to shop and that kind of thing. So having that key understanding around your vision is really important. Obviously, because of what I do, I think, why go it alone when you could have someone supporting you right there and then, whether that's with a brainstorm session or a full style. I know all my clients very much feel like when we do look and feel right through to links, right through to install, for some of them, everyone's feeling clear and confident, and there are no surprises around what we get at the end because of the way that I work and how the structure I put in place. It's a pretty pretty much a no-brainer what you're going to get at the end before we purchase, because you can see it on a mood board and it's going to be, pretty much on the money. But the key thing is I do all the legwork for you. So you literally only choose from the 3 coffee tables I have selected for you specifically, rather than looking at the 25 to 30 that you might look at online. And people love that because too much choice is honestly just such an undoing for so many of us. And I think, yeah, that's probably the biggest thing that people find hard to troubleshoot, is just how much choice is out there. And going and spending weekends and, saying I've looked at I don't know how many sofas and I'm more confused than when I started, and what do I do? Like, that's not great. So I try and have made a process that is a little bit easier, and it's more specific to you. It's more specific to all the things that accumulate in your home. So like your budget, your style, how you live, what season are you in your life, and creating something around that is so important. It's not just about, I need to go buy a cream sofa. Right, let's go buy a cream sofa. It's more than that. So I hope that has given you a bit of clarity, even if working with me is not something that you want to do and you're very much a DIYer, or maybe you're in the midst of it and you're still, you're sitting in that realm of overwhelm and thinking, okay, I need to go back and get clarity, and then I need to do a bit of reconnaissance online before I go out and get going again, so that I can get this space to a point that I'm enjoying it. Because let's face it, that's the ultimate end goal, is to get to the end and love what you've created and get to enjoy it. It's not about the cringe moments or the, oh, we have this sofa but we hate it. I hate it when I hear that. I hear clients say that all the time. Oh yeah, we've just kept it because we had to and we don't like it, but it's just here. Not ideal. So I guess that's kind of my advice around shopping for furniture and trying to make it not so overwhelming and difficult. But if you have more questions, obviously jump on the socials and send me a DM. I'd love to help you out with whatever questions you might have. But until next time, I hope this has given you some inspiration to get out there, get those spaces styled how you've always dreamed, instead of having them as a Pinterest board that is never going to become a reality. We want you to live those beautiful spaces that are in a reality that you can enjoy. So that's it from me today. Thanks for listening. I'll catch you next time.